You know what that plumber did?
What?
All I needed him to do was clear my tub drain because it was running slow. He was snaking the drain from the outside, and the snake broke through and shattered my toilet.
Shattered?
The snake came through my toilet.
I can imagine doing it. It's like...
And get this. That fucking plumber had taken a leak in my toilet, not flushed. And so the fucking snake is just like splashing his urine all around. And then, there's all this porcelain. And then they had to carry the fucking toilet out of here because they had to go buy a replacement. And so the toilet leaked from the bedroom all the way out to the door. And I died.
Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise,
where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
I'm Michelle.
Well, you got a new toilet. That's cool.
I got a new toilet, so that's been my adventure recently. That and I took acid for the first time. But other than that... So, this week I was like, what should I talk about? And then I was like, oh, you know what? It's raining. I got to wear my Aran sweater. Let's go back to Ireland. Let's do a little Irish tale. Because when I was traveling, I picked up a bunch of books. One of my favorite books I got there was A Field Guide to Irish Fairies, which led me to a phenomenon that I'm going to talk about today. But first, you, Edwin. Your neighbor in the village has just had a baby. It's pretty cute. Everyone's really ooey gooey over it. But oh no, not you. You're like, ew, gross. Ew, ew. What a gross little potato.
Fitting for Ireland.
Oh, it's a gross little potato boy. Baby envy is bad, and it puts that baby at risk. And at risk of what, you say? Getting the attention of the Irish fairies. And if you do that, well, that baby could become what the Irish call a changeling.
Ooh. Oh, that's how you pronounce that?
Yeah,
oh,
changeling.
I don't know why I thought of changeling.
No, I think it's just changeling.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's backtrack. Because fairies aren't Tinkerbell. Because I know, some people are like, oh, but fairies. They're so fun. Blue fairy, all the Disney stuff. The thing is that they aren't that kind. And at best, they're neutral and fun to party with. That's what it seems like. I think fairies can throw a good party. If you somehow get invited and you're a neutral force, that seems like a lot of fun to go party with some fairies.
So they're rowdy. Do they get drunk and stuff?
They're rowdy. They like a party. They like music. They like beauty, all sorts of stuff. So what are the fairies, you ask? In Irish lore, I'm referring back to A Field Guide to Irish Fairies by Bob Curran. And so he had kind of this great, little introduction to fairies. And I just, I think it encapsulates their myth and their legend pretty well. Fairies have always played a major role in Irish life, and different types of fairies are to be found throughout the Irish countryside. They were once so feared that it was even forbidden to use the word fairy at all, and a number of other more flattering terms were used to refer to them, such as the gentry or the good people. Who are the fairies? Why are they so feared? They are the old gods from the earth, ancient beings who were once widely worshipped throughout pagan Ireland, who have all but been consigned to memory, but who can still make their presence felt when the mood takes them. Other sources claim they are fallen angels, those who sat on the fence during the Great Rebellion in heaven and who were thrown out for indecisiveness. So, that battle between good and evil, and then these were the folks that just, didn't pick a side. So now they get to wander the earth.
And that's true. I remember thinking, in my classes for engineering, they were like, not choosing is a choice. And I'm like, huh. And it's true. Like when there's all this stuff in a factory going on and you don't decide something, that not deciding of the lack of decision, you decided to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bizarre. I just got chills for, I don't know what you said. Thinking school. I'm afraid of school. Okay.
It's fair. That's fair. You're having a post-traumatic stress episode.
And that's true though. Yeah.
According to this theory, St. Michael, the patron saint of fairies, interceded with God on their behalf, and they were given the dark and remote places of the earth in which to dwell. Well away from the human habitation, some were granted the depths of the ocean and became mere folk. Others were sent to the lands under the earth and became goblins and trolls. Others were granted the air and became spirits and fairies, whilst others were given the harsh and barren areas of the countryside and became leprechauns and grogs.
What and what?
And grogs, which I was going to do an episode on, but there's not enough. But this is a grog.
Oh, cool. It looks like that's cool.
They can go invisible and they get mad at you if you don't work hard enough. And so you have to get rid of them by getting a priest if they're annoying you. They won't let you sleep in bed. They're like, get to work, get to work, get to work. Yet other theories claim that fairies are the last survivors of a prehistoric race who came to Ireland from ancient Greece and brought with them skills and magic far in advance of their particular age. At one time, they were treated as gods, but gradually as Christianity spread across Ireland, they retreated into caves, lonely glens, and hollows which characterize the Irish countryside, venturing out only occasionally. Fairies can be willful and capricious creatures, easily offended and quick to anger. They are often spiteful and jealous of mankind, which enjoys a special relationship with God, which they cannot. Okay. Nevertheless,
Ow.
That description covers all the bases, and that's from that book by Bob Curran. But I think what they're describing is like an elemental, something that's just always been here, not human, not necessarily a demon, but not human, that's what.
I remember being afraid of fairies and stuff back when I was a kid. As in thinking I think it was more of little people flying around that I was like, ugh.
Fair. It's the tiny hands. So why would a fairy, as I have described earlier, steal a baby? Why? What do you think?
They want to make it its slave, or they want to influence it to continue with their agenda somehow.
The fairy agenda.
Maybe babies are the only ones that can see them or talk to them or something. I don't know.
It appears that fairy women all over Ireland find it difficult to give birth. So many fairy children die before birth, and that those that do survive are often stunted and deformed creatures. The adult fairies, who are aesthetic beings, are repelled by these infants and have no wish to keep them. So they think they're hideous. And, fairies being like, "Ooh, good time. Oh, everybody's attractive. We're like playing music. Yeah." And they're like, "Oh no, my baby's ugly."
It's like freaking Woodstock. You describe it as like this.
I'm like, yeah. Just jam. Anything goes. They're having a great time.
I'm trying to find why women in Ireland, they say that
fairy women in Ireland. It's not.
Is it their hips?
Yeah, it's their Irish hips. No, fairy women in Ireland struggle. Not all women in Ireland. No, humans are fine. The fairy women have some problems.
So they want to steal a kid.
Yeah. So basically they'll swap them out for healthy children who they steal from mortals. So they'll whenever you're cooing over a baby saying that it's super cute, that'll get the attention of the fairies. And they'll be like, oh, basically what they do is they steal the baby, and then they'll leave a withered, ill-tempered creature will be left in its place, known as a changeling, and possesses the power to work evil in the household. Any child who is not baptized or is overly admired and then I wrote, this also applies to hot people because adults can also be taken,
Ooh.
is especially at risk for the exchange. There can also be adult changelings. These fairy doubles will exactly resemble the person but have a sour disposition. And they'll be cold and aloof and take no interest in their friends and family. And they'll also be argumentative and scolding. Why would the Fae want a full-grown adult human?
I don't know.
Well, some folklorists maintain that it's for interspecies breeding. So they're kidnapping for, the party. To introduce new blood and strengthen the Fae race as a whole. Others take the phrase new blood quite literally. The Fae would feed off the stolen human, thinking that the blood and the flesh of the beautiful would be sweeter.
It reminds me of like aliens. Like they say that they kidnap humans sometimes to like breed.
Eat? Oh.
Not eat them. I've never heard of aliens eating anybody, but
breeding maybe. Who knows? But it's truly the temperament that makes a changeling. Babies are generally joyous and pleasant, I guess. But the fairy substitute is never happy, except for when some calamity befalls the household. Insert evil baby laugh. For the most part, it howls and screeches throughout the waking hours, and the sound and frequency of its yells often transcend the bounds of mortal endurance. I don't know why that's so funny to me. A changeling can be one of three types. It could be actual fairy children, a senile fairy who is disguised as a child. Which I love.
That is so creepy though. Like what?
I know, it's so creepy, but I love the idea of ditching Grandma Fairy as like a baby. You wrap her up and leave her as a baby somewhere.
Wrinkly baby, just poops itself.
Yeah, it's like perfect. It's a perfect system. They don't have retirement homes. So anyway, senile fairies who are disguised as children, or inanimate objects such as pieces of wood, which take on the appearance of a child through fairy magic. This latter type is known as a stock, is what it's called. So when they convert like sticks into babies, they are called stock.
And they're disguised? Like how blind do you have to be?
Puckered and withered features, coupled with yellow parchment-like skin, are all the generic changeling attributes. This fairy will also have dark eyes, which betray a wisdom far beyond its years. I love how creepy this sounds. Like, can you imagine a baby with withered skin just look like you think it's an old person? Actually, it's not actually a baby.
It's like all cataracts and stuff, and
changelings display other characteristics, usually physical deformities, among which a crooked back, a lame hand are common. And about 2 weeks after the arrival in the human household, changelings will also exhibit a full set of teeth, legs as thin as chicken bones, and hands which are curved and crooked as birds' talons, covered with light downy hair.
Oh, that's right. Imagine the disguises the baby with white hair.
So no luck will come to the family in which there is a changeling, because the creature drains away all good fortune, which would normally attend the household. Thus, those who are cursed with it tend to be very poor and struggling desperately to maintain their ravenous monster of a child.
I blame the family here. If you can't tell, like, come on. Like,
one of the positive things about a changeling is they demonstrate an aptitude for music. So as it grows, the changeling might take up an instrument like the fiddle or the Irish pipes and play with such a skill, anyone who hears it will be entranced. I was watching Lord of the Rings last night, so I can't do an Irish accent because all I can hear is Samwise Gamgee being like, "I've been dropping no eaves, sir." So I don't know how to do Irish right now, but there's a quote from a report near Boho in the county of Fermagh. "I saw a changeling one time, and he lived with two old brothers away beyond." Wow, it's Samwise Gamgee, but
it's good. It's good.
"I saw a changeling one time, and he lived with two old brothers away beyond the dog's well, and looked like a wee whizzing monkey. He was about 10 or 11, but couldn't really walk, and just bobbed about. But he could play the whistle, the best that you ever heard, old tunes that people had long forgotten. That was all he played. Then one day, he was gone, and I don't know what happened to him at all.
Wow. Is that a true account, or is that like some type of...
Well, there's no like proof. There's no name, but yes, apparently that's a true account. I don't know. I would put an asterisk by that. It definitely came out of my Irish fairy book. I would definitely put maybe an asterisk by that account. So, how do you prevent your beautiful baby or person from being kidnapped by fairies? Prevention is better than a cure. A number of protections may be placed around an infant's cradle to ward off a changeling. A holy crucifix, obviously, since they have no relationship with God. Or iron tongs placed across the cradle will usually be effective because the fairies fear these. Don't know why. But I have heard that iron does, like, repel spirits. An article of the father's clothing laid across the child as it sleeps will have the same effect. How would you go about having your loved one return to you? So your child or your hot boyfriend or girlfriend, your hot partner has been kidnapped. What do you do? Apparently the answer is to either trick or abuse the changeling to the point of divulging their true identity, so forcing the fate.
Abuse? What if they're not a changeling?
Well, the thing is that I have some true stories coming up, and they are good.
Uh-oh.
But, so how do you trick the most cunning and devious creature ever known? Strangely enough, changeling fairies get a big kick out of halved eggshells. So either placing them about or using them to hold water is said to elicit uncontrollable laughter. Whereupon the changeling will vanish and leaving your original human in its place. So you put these like cracked eggshells around and
I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I don't think there's much to get. Fairies just find them hilarious. I don't think there's much to get there. They can't handle it. They'll start laughing. And then you know you're onto them, and so they gotta go.
How do you hold water in an eggshell?
Yeah, I guess you just like scoop the water in the half eggshell. Like, you know when you crack an egg and then you...
Yeah.
I guess that's really funny.
I mean, it's their thing, so...
Humor is subjective. Who am I to judge what a fairy finds funny? Also, bagpipes, placed in the suspected child's bed or crib, is also a common trick. Fairies love music so much that a changeling, no matter how young, will be compelled to grasp the instrument and play like a virtuoso. What does good bagpipes actually sound like? Like, how would you know?
It's just the noise makes sense this time.
I guess. Lastly, to figure out if you have a changeling, fire and outright battery can be used to force the fae to return the human. Some methods advocate placing a child or an adult in a hot oven. Others say to hold scalding hot pokers near the mouth while demanding the changeling state its name 3 times. Still, other folklore insists that only by dunking, near drowning, the changeling in a bath of foxglove, which is poison. Foxglove tea is poison. Foxglove is a poison plant, which I found very interesting. So anyway, you take a bath in foxglove, or urine is the only other way to cast out the wayward fairy.
You know what's weird about this is that people have probably tried this.
Oh yeah, people did actually try it. Here's the thing. That's the legend, right? Like, the legend's really funny and entertaining. Now we have real cases. And maybe this takes a possible sad turn. You know, like, it's zany until it's sad. In 1826, a kid named Michael Leahy was born in Kerry, Ireland. Leahy was 4 years old at the time of his death. He was believed by some in the community to have been a changeling. He could neither speak nor stand. Anne Roche claimed to have supernatural abilities and healing skills, and she ordered 2 people to bathe the boy in the river every morning And on the third morning, he was held under the water for too long and died. Under cross-examination, a witness said the drowning was not done with any ill intent of killing the child, but to cure him, quote-unquote, to pull the fairy out of it. So the court, at the direction of the judge, found Roche not guilty of murder. Author Robert Curran says that the verdict is suggestive of the depths of belief in changelings in the community, and there were several such cases in rural Ireland in the 19th century. But perhaps the most famous one, and the most fucked up, is that of Bridget Cleary. Have you heard of this?
No.
So, Bridget Cleary is known as the last witch burned in England. So the year is 1895. Bridget married this man named Michael Cleary when she was 17. Bridget was a smart lady. She and Michael both knew how to read and write, which was kind of unusual. And she was a moderately successful businesswoman. However, the Clearys were often the focus of gossip. She kept to herself, and she, was just doing her own thing. People called her snobbish. And also, her and her husband had been married for 7 years, and they'd yet to have any children. His virility was being questioned, which was also, hot gossip at the time. But in March 1895, Bridget took ill mysteriously, which, according to Wikipedia, was bronchitis. So she was very sick with bronchitis. Michael, together with his brother-in-law and Bridget's aunt and cousin, tried to nurse Bridget back to health, but her condition only got worse. After a local doctor said there was nothing he could do, and the priest was called, Michael had all but given up hope. But remember, it's still a fairly superstitious time, and in a written statement to the court, Michael had believed that his Bridget had been swapped for a changeling, because, they can swap for adults. And this was the reason of her illness. So, last resort, he sent for a man named Dennis Gainey, who was known as a fairy doctor. Gainey's treatments, though seemingly barbaric and absurd now, were considered standard practice for fairy abductions, which is also in quotes. They included, but were not limited to, forcing the changeling to drink the first milk given by a cow after calving. So, you give them milk, and fairies love milk, so they'll bring the human back for the milk.
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact, fairies love milk. Gross. Anyway, scalding the changeling with a hot poker, dousing the changeling in urine, holding the changeling over fire, all three were said to force the changeling to admit that they were indeed a fairy and would break the spell immediately and cause the return of the original person from the fairy realm. Later one evening, around midnight, after one of these lengthy treatment sessions, Michael claimed that he took his wife, threw her on the floor in front of the fire in the hearth of the kitchen, wielded a piece of burning wood near her mouth, and demanded that she say her name 3 times. When she failed to do so, Michael doused Bridget with lamp oil and set her on fire.
You sounded like a news reporter there. That was...
Set her on fire. Like an asshole. Like a huge asshole. Basically, several days later, the townspeople noticed Bridget was missing. After a tremendous search, her body was found less than a mile away from her house, wrapped in a sheet, buried in a shallow grave, covered with a small amount of dirt and sticks. So, charges were brought against Michael, right? But he was claiming fairy abduction as his defense. He was found guilty for manslaughter and served 15 years in prison. And then he immigrated to Canada and lived in Montreal. So he, went on to live a life, which is weird. His legend and the tragic fate of his wife, Bridget, is still remembered in a children's Irish nursery rhyme, which goes, "Are you a witch or are you a fairy? Or are you the wife of Michael McCleary?" Which, why don't we come up with rhymes like that anymore?
Right?
Like that's good. But anyway, you could perhaps theorize that the changeling myth stemmed from mysterious illnesses or death. People with little knowledge of medicine and deep superstitions needed something to explain tragic occurrences that were going on around them. An overly fussy baby, a baby born with deformities, adults stricken with mental and physical illness, sudden infant death syndrome, a changeling. The changeling myth explains all of this. That is... across the board explains all of this.
This stuff is dangerous, man. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I know. But frankly, I think the moral of the story is you should ignore babies and beautiful people, and it's for their own good.
I mean, I do that already, so it's fine. I used to call it shyness, but I guess it's
you're actually a hero.
It's so sad though, like
Yeah.
to do these things. Oh man, like
Yeah.
But it happens, like I don't know if I told you, Michelle, already, but like we ended up at this. I was with Carla up in Peru. We were doing. We wanted to go see this ceremony. It was like a gift to the earth. Did I tell you this?
No, I don't think so.
And I started realizing, okay, because when we were up there, it was so hot. We were there for like hours, like 7 hours up there, like when they were bearing this a gift to the earth, the Pachamama, what it's called, Mother Earth. And this lady started passing out. Like we were in a circle, and all of a sudden she just kind of like went limp. We're like, oh my God, right? And I was so pissed. Like I was angry because instead of calling emergency services or like, because she fainted twice, right? Like this is like more serious.
Yeah.
Instead of doing anything, they grab her. This is not cool, but I'm laughing because I'm like, they take her away from the circle, and this guy comes by with like this smoke thing and like starts chanting and going in her face and like praying and stuff. And I'm like, okay, if I were in that position, if I'm passing out, please call emergency services, because I'm gonna haunt whoever like let this happen, because it's not that I don't believe in this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I am skeptical, right? But people, they don't do what they're supposed to do because their beliefs are like, I don't know. This is why, like, okay, if you think this is a fairy and you're doing all these rituals that are killing somebody.
I mean, yeah, you're literally setting someone on fire or pissing on them. Like you're gonna piss on your baby. You're gonna piss on your baby because it's crying. Like, get real. But then again, like I understand how people be like, you don't have any medical. There's nothing to explain it. So you're like, I'll take anything to explain this. Like,
but I don't understand the whole. What is it, like magical piss? Like, what is it? Like,
it's probably something about it being a like mortal piss, and then
the fairies don't like it and they leave.
Yeah,
nobody likes getting pissed on. I mean,
well, there you go. Maybe there's definitely some people that like it. I don't know if there are listeners, but maybe. We don't want to alienate them. We've already alienated Canada. We can't alienate the pee fetish guys.
The golden showers.
That's it. The golden shower guys today, too. We're going to alienate Canada and golden showers?
Jeez. Maybe both at the same time. You got to watch out. Like
the Canadian golden showers contingent. Our demographic.
We get a strongly worded email about this.
What are we going to talk about next week, Edwin?
I don't know. I think it'll be a surprise.
Bye.